Hey, good morning, New Me Nation. Welcome to New Minds TV. Hope you're checking us out on Facebook or we're on YouTube. NewMinds.tv is our website for all our videos that get posted at. My name is Justin, and I'm part of the team here at New Minds Enrichment and the Chief Creative Officer. So proud to be part of this whole team that has put together New Minds TV. As we round out, check this out, our first month of programming. That's right. We went home from the office on a Friday. And that's when everything started shutting down for us and for everybody. And we made a call and we brought the team together and we said, let's go live. Let's continue to share online. And here we are a month later. We would not be here without your likes and your subscribes and your feedbacks and your comments. Feedbacks? You like that? So 100 times over, a huge thank you. This is the part of the day where I started off and then, of course, making any kind of announcements. So I'm going to dive right in. Man, super rich conversation yesterday. I want to say a huge thank you. We were talking about getting yourself established for an environment. And that was doing a mood check, like where are you? Setting that expectation and saying where you're at, and of course expecting the best. And so, I was humbled. Sheila was on the chat yesterday, and she had a chance to even reach out. Now, I won't brag on her too much. I'll just say this. Sheila is a master teacher who has won awards across the state of Texas, probably the nation that I'm not aware of, but just a master teacher. And to hear her share a piece of her story and just be open and honest and transparent about, the frustration she's feeling in this time. So a huge thank you to Sheila for that part. And again, coming full circle, it's that kind of love, it's that kind of support that keeps us going. So 100 times over, a huge thank you. Hope you're getting things out of this. Hope you're able to share these resources with your friends and families. So I do want to dive right in there, actually, where we left off, which is it's that paradox, really. So this is a new time that requires us to have grit and have resiliency. But the paradox is, in order to attain grit and resiliency, you have to be in a state of discomfort. Oh, isn't that frustrating? Oh, good. I'm glad it's frustrating, because by being frustrated, you actually are improving and growing your resiliency. So we don't talk about it a whole lot when we talk about fostering grit. Now, there are some great books out there, and I'll try to drop some comments below. But there are great books out there about fostering grit in the classroom. And so, man, I have a chance to know that author of that book, Fostering Grit in the Classroom. And they talk about amazing ways that we can pour into our students. And so there's one thing that we kind of tend to gloss over when we think about this. We'll focus a lot on the growth mindset piece, the locus of control. What do you have control over? What do you not have control over? So we talk about that, and we have the kids even do things called the power of yet. Yes, I'm going to break in the song. There's a Sesame Street song that you can even show younger kids that goes, it's the power of yet. Idea is, you can't bake those cookies. You can't bake those cookies yet. And so that begins to help you realize and recognize what you do have control over. So we do talk about a lot of those things. And so it's a very, very powerful lesson. But what tends to get lost somewhere is the part about, I'm getting some text messages. What we tend to gloss over is the part about creating that frustration. So I'll say that clearly. As the teacher, if you want your kids to be more resilient, you have to create frustration. Again, back to that paradox, which is we have to have grit and resiliency, especially in these new times. But in order to get there, we have to be in a state of discomfort. All right, so again, paradox, conflict, struggle. And I'll just kind of tell you, I think the natural default for teachers too is that we don't like to watch kids struggle. We see them begin to struggle, and we're like, how can I help? How can I support you? And that's a good thing. I mean, you'd hate to have like your doctor looking at you being like, work it out, kid. So same thing with a teacher, as a teaching physician, you want to be there offering that guidance and that support for that kid to make it through those tough times. But again, I'll say one more time, there's that paradox. If they don't hit that frustration, if we, don't hit that frustration, then you never actually get resiliency or grit. Okay, so I said this was picking up on yesterday's theme. I'll say this now, and I'll say it again at the close, just a reminder that those struggles that we're all going through, Sheila, those struggles that you mentioned, those are all things that it's hard to recognize right now with where you're at. Um, but for all of us at the end of this thing, we will be more resilient and stronger and better because of the struggle we're going through now. So, okay, let me kind of leave you with an interesting twist on this, a little different angle. I thought back and forth, what are all the ways I could tell you how to create frustration inside the classroom, or how to create frustration that's healthy, that allows for your kids or the people you're working with to grow. But instead, I'm going to do something a little different, a little odd, and I'm going to share one of my favorite hobbies. I don't know if that's a proper term for this, but one of my favorite hobbies, which is reading koans. Koan, pronounced K-O-A, or spelled Koan. And what a coin is it's like a very short story, like an anecdote. I don't want to say parable because it's not meant to be that way. It's supposed to be like this little short story or anecdote or saying that kind of it surpasses logic almost. So we get really, really focused on what am I supposed to do? What's the next step? What's the most logical step? How do I get resiliency? How do I grow that? And I found myself getting stuck in that logical trap. How do I get very didactic and explain it? And so I'm going to instead talk about koans, which are meant from Zen Buddhists to be this kind of slap in the face. And I did mention it's one of my favorite hobbies, so let me just go ahead and dive in. There's a book. She puts mine would be trivia. Nice. Hey, it's a good hobby. I gotta love some trivia. You know what? I'm going to go on a quick thing here. Do you know where word trivia comes from? Without Google searching the etymology, tell me if you know where the word trivia comes from. I love it. Okay, diving back in. So there's a book. It's called Entangled Vines, and even the name itself has all this allusion to just these vines that are growing up and how maybe we have knowledge, but things grow on top of it. And so we'll share a link to that book in the comments. But it's a collection of Japanese koans, and I do say Japanese koans. It's the only collection that was compiled in Japan. It has a lot of the original texts, and I recommend this one, having worked through a few books. I recommend this one because they do a great job of the translation and even giving a lot of context to the various connotations of the words that are used. So if you want to try this, the link is to Amazon. We're not getting any money by recommending this book. Just check out the preview and do a few pages and see what you think. But let me give you an example. There's about 200 and so koans in this book, and I've been working on it almost every day for the past 2 years, and I'm only 34 into this book. So it's really cool. So I guess you really got to like it. So just the fact that it's taking such a long time to work through something like this is already kind of helping me build this long-term resiliency and this grit, right? Like staying with something. But then the actual messages themselves, the way that I do them, there's no one right way, of course, but the way that I read these and the way that I work through koans as a hobby is I will read it just kind of first for comprehension, just basic overlevel, what am I reading? And then I'll try to take notes and try to figure out what epiphanies are coming to me. And then I realized that I've almost kind of gone too far with the whole logical part, so I'll go back and read it again. And then I intentionally walk away from it, and I'll come back the next day, and I won't move on past that koan until I've had a slap in the face, right? I've had some kind of an epiphany. And sometimes it takes a day, sometimes it takes an hour, sometimes it takes a week for me to be like, oh my gosh, and I'll be doing something totally different, right? That whole incubation cycle. I'll be off somewhere else, I don't know, outside mowing the yard, and all of a sudden, poof, it hits me. So that's the way that I approach them. I do feel like I should probably give an example. So let me kind of share one of my favorites. This is not from the book. I didn't want to use any kind of copyrighted material. This is just a real famous one. So here's my koan. I'll try to do it as best I can. So it's a man. The rains have come, and there's a master and his apprentice that are walking down the road, and the road is just sloshy. They're making it through. They're trudging. And they look over, and there's a beautiful woman standing there with an umbrella, and she's wearing a beautiful silk kimono, and knowing full well that if she crosses the road, it's gonna ruin her dress, right? So the master walks over, picks up the lady, doesn't say a word, right? Picks her up, carries her across the road, and then sets her down on the other side. Okay, they just start moving on. He just keeps walking. And now the apprentice is like flabbergasted. Like, what in the world? So the apprentice catches back up with the master, and they continue to walk down the road together. And the apprentice is just fuming. Like, oh my gosh, you shouldn't have done that. That's ridiculous. What's going on? And finally, like after hours, the apprentice says, Master, I have to ask you a question. We're Buddhist monks. We're not supposed to be in the presence of women, let alone pick them up and carry them, let alone ones that were beautiful and can tempt us. What were you doing? And the master looks at his apprentice and he says, man, I put her down hours ago. Why are you still carrying her? Okay, so I'm taking a second, let some things sink in. I don't know if that gave you an epiphany the way that gave me an epiphany the first time I heard it, but how true, man. Again, I won't try to dive in too much with it, but just the way that sometimes we carry our own frustrations. Isn't that funny how we almost create our own atmosphere that way? Man, okay, so Sheila, diving back in here, via is the way, so maybe something to do with that. Man, here's a hint. And again, someone told this to me, so I've always loved it. The first part is try, and the second part is via, so the way, right? So what would happen is that as you were going into a city, so let's pretend that all roads lead to Rome, right? So multiple roads all come into one, right? And they go down to one, they go down to one. So where two roads come together into one, it's a really important spot to put any kind of notification, because a lot of people that are converging together would go into the city and they would all see the information there. So 3 roads, 3 ways. And so that's where they would put all this information. Well, of course, you put a lot of information out there. Not everything can be important. So when everything's important, nothing's important, right? So this is where you get trivia from, is that the 3 ways are where they put all these notifications that just became extra information. So anyway, okay, diving back into the koan piece. So I got to this part because I'm talking about when we're working with our students, or when we're working, with ourselves or at work, whether we're zooming in or not, we have to have a lot of resiliency during these new times, but really the only way to get there is through frustration, which means I'm living this struggle bus as well, right? The only way I'm going to get better at the morning talks is to keep making mistakes, and to keep doing it and to keep going with it. So again, instead of talking at you about ways to build resiliency, I wanted to share one of my favorite hobbies, which is reading of koans. And it's just a simple, like 5 to 10 minutes every single day. But yeah, play around with it, see what you think. And I do want to share one more kind of in closing, and it's because it's about education. We put a link in the comments there. Ben and I, about a year ago, we were having a hard time trying to encapsulate what made New Minds different when it came to education. We feel it in our gut. We can see it. It's just, how do you articulate what we're really looking for when we work with kids? And so it occurred to us, oh my gosh, we're trying to be much too logical. We're trying to use the right word choice. Let's see if we can encapsulate this in a way that surpasses logic, that maybe is, a koan. So, all right. So I've shared in the links a koan that is original from Ben and Justin. We wrote it together, and I'm going to read it to you now. It's called The Wise Teacher and the Good Student. There once was a wise teacher and a good student, and one day at lessons, the student approached the teacher. "Oh, wise teacher, I have completed all that you assigned me. Am I ready to move on?" The wise teacher looked at the work and said, "You completed all that I assigned you. Everything is correct. You are not ready to move on." A week later, at lessons, the good student approached the teacher. "Oh, wise teacher, I have completed all that you assigned me, and twice as much. Ha ha! Am I ready to move on?" You completed all that I assigned you and even twice as much. Everything is correct. You are not ready to move on. A week later, the student was not at lessons. And in the afternoon, as the wise teacher went to see the good student, he found him sitting under a tree studying a flower. You were not at lessons today. Oh, startled, the good student leapt to his feet. I'm sorry, wise teacher. I didn't mean to miss. I lost track of time. I found your lesson inside this lotus flower. You did not mean to miss. You lost track of time because you found the lesson in the lotus flower. You are ready to move on. So I feel probably the only thing I'll say to add a little bit of context to that is this is the way that we want to approach how we work with kids and the lessons that get out there is that, sure, we can tell you what to do, right? And then if you do it, check that box. Oh, you do it times 10, right? You do double what we've asked you to do. Check that box. It's not real inspired learning. And when that kid became distracted because they saw those lessons applied to things around them, they were ready to move on. So, again, the idea behind this was sharing koans because they can be frustrating. They do require resiliency and stick-to-itiveness, right, in order to work through them. This is a time where we are all having to be resilient. And just let me end with this note that rest assured that these times of discomfort, these will be the times that make you more resilient, make all of us more resilient and stronger in the end. All right, I want to thank you for the day. We have an amazing lineup coming up. I'm seeing so many great comments coming up. Thank you. Okay. Man, I got Sheila talking about making our students autonomous learners should be our ultimate goal. Thank you, Sheila. You picked up exactly where it was at. The kid that was under the tree distracted because he had found this lesson in nature or just somewhere he had found this lesson was actually becoming an autonomous, self-sufficient learner. So a huge thank you on that one. Great pick up there. Okay. All right. Great lineup for the day here on the channel. Of course, we've got Kristen coming in at the 10 o'clock spot for the Parent Power Hour. And then, again, full lineup. I know that we have STEM en Español. Man, yesterday we had the STEM en Arabia for immersion for both those languages, Arabic and Spanish. We've got Around the World with Mr. Walter. We've got Into the Dungeon verse. We've got the STEAM Train for K2 and 3-5. And so many more from the New Minds Vault, and then our CEO wrapping the day up. Man, it's so fun to have so many programs coming together. I'm excited about it. And man, over these next few days, we'll have a chance to kind of reach out more and ask what you're utilizing, what you deem is valuable, what we can continue to support you with. So of course, your comments, your encouragements, your thumbs, when the thumbs go up or down, right? Feedback is what we need. So thank you so much for your time this morning and have an incredible day. Bye.